Hey everybody, thanks for joining us. Today is the first video in our series geared to teaching basic financial literacy to physicians. If you're in medical school or early in your career, this is the perfect time to start understanding these concepts and creating good habits as you start collecting that attending physician income that you've worked hard for many years to earn. If you're further along in your career, that's okay. It's never too late to shore up the basics and to make any changes that might be necessary to get yourself back on track. If you're not a physician, we welcome you anyway. The concepts that we teach are important for everyone who is on the journey to financial independence, regardless of your background. Today's topic is about creating good money behaviors, and we'll scratch the surface on an emerging field called behavioral finance. If you really want to understand your current relationship with money and how you manage it, it's often important to look a little deeper at your past. If this topic doesn't really interest you and you thought we were just going to teach about investments, I urge you to hang in there with me. I think that if you take these exercises seriously and really consider the psychology behind your own money patterns, you're going to find out a lot about yourself and your habits, both good and bad, that influence your financial spending. It's also especially important to have open discussions on these topics with your significant other. That might save a lot of arguments and misunderstanding about spending or saving habits, and will give you a starting point to find common ground as you create a cohesive plan that you can both agree on. Statistics suggest that 20 to 40% of divorces have money issues at the root. Better communication may not only save your finances, but your marriage. So the question on the screen is, what does money mean to you? Not everyone answers this the same. For some, money represents security. They may have come from a background where they didn't have much money, or where the lack of money was a constant source of stress or friction. Having money in the bank relieves anxiety. The thought of losing money in investments is overwhelming. For other people, money might mean power. They may have been around others who use their money to prop themselves on a pedestal or to create social boundaries. Others may see money as the stuff that they can buy with it. It represents the good things in life, access to life's pleasures. It's the boats, the fancy vacations, the sports cars. And others see money as an opportunity to help others. They've witnessed great examples of charitable giving and all the good that can be done in the world when you have money to give. So ask yourself, what do I see my money doing for me? How do I plan on spending it? How do I feel about being a high-income professional that should have extra money beyond my basic needs? What am I going to do with that extra money and why? What scares me about money? Part of understanding what my money means to me requires that I understand both the good relationship that I might have, but also the bad relationship with money that I may have grown up with. Are you scared about running out of money because you saw your parents fighting about it, or you grew up in a situation where money was scarce? On the other hand, did your family have a lot of money and you were embarrassed about it because your friends had less? Are you afraid that money might change your focus or perspective on life? Most of us went into medicine to help other people. Will that change when you start collecting large paychecks? Will money keep you in a profession that you wouldn't otherwise stick with? Will it compromise your values? Obviously, our parents have a great impact on what we become as adults. Hopefully, this is because we have the type of parents that are proactive in teaching us the things that we should know about how to become functional and beneficial contributors to society. They teach us about handling money from an early age. They give us allowance or jobs that give us experience in saving, spending, and investing. Not everyone is so fortunate, though. Sometimes we learn about money from our parents' dysfunctional relationship with it. Sometimes that leads us to vow that we are going to be different. But those early experiences can have an oversized impact on our behaviors, and we need to be sure that we understand them so that we can be purposeful with our own choices. Look back at your childhood. When was the first time that you remember that money meant something to you? What was it about that memory that informs how you react today? What was your first job and how did it feel when you got that first paycheck? What was the first thing that you bought with your own money? Were you good at saving, or did you just go spend it as soon as you got it? Has that changed as an adult? I think it's very important that you explore your own behaviors in a very honest way and have an open conversation with your significant other about it. Don't turn it into an argument or a time to be judgmental with each other. Just list what your weaknesses are and what you'd like to change. Consider why you might struggle with those things. List the good things too. Reinforce those. Write them down. Set some goals on how to change the things that you would like to change and how to reinforce your positive behaviors. What is your money goal? Creating goals is an important skill. Doctors are generally good at it when it comes to their career. You know what it takes to become a doctor, and there are a lot of intermediate steps along the way to get there. But many of us, once we start our career, are less proactive about setting goals in other areas of our life, including financial goals. I would suggest that you start with an overall money mission statement. How can I express in words what I want my relationship with money to be? That's easier said than done. But if you can capture your overall financial goal in a sentence or two, it will give you something to look at as you move forward with your more specific goals. Does this particular goal fit into my money mission statement? If not, do I need to change something about it or eliminate it altogether? Do you want to be rich? In your mind, is that your goal, to become rich? If so, what does that mean to you? Does it mean buying all the things that you want? Do you like fancy things? Is it important to you to drive new cars, live in a large house, go on expensive vacations? There's nothing wrong with having those things. I'm going to suggest a definition of richness as being externally driven. Richness is the stuff that you have or do that others can see. It's what you post on Facebook. It's what you spend your money on. Would I rather be wealthy than rich? Isn't it the same thing? Maybe it's just semantics, but my definition of wealth is different than richness. Wealth is what you have that no one else knows about. We all like to share our vacation pictures on social media, but how many of us would show what is in our bank accounts or how much is in our investment portfolio? That'd feel weird, right? But that is what leads to true wealth. Not what you spend, but what you save. Think of all the stories of professional athletes or musicians or lottery winners who haven't learned the difference between wealth and riches. They make millions of dollars every year, yet they end up bankrupt. How does that happen? It's because they live a rich life, not a wealthy one. So what is the difference between wealth and riches? Living a rich lifestyle where you spend as fast as you bring it in means that you have to keep bringing in money to sustain your spending habits. The more money that you make, the more stuff you buy with it. You become tied to your income, and if that ever goes away, you lose everything. You're forced to keep working in a job that you dislike. These are the golden handcuffs of a high-income professional. On the other hand, true wealth means freedom. It is estimated that the cost of living for a couple without children in the U.S. is about $67,000. For a family of four, $85,000. Of course, that'll vary depending on where you live. But that means that anything above that is by definition discretionary income, meaning that you have choices on what you do with it beyond just paying for your needs. If you want to become wealthy, you must make the right decisions with that extra money. If you spend it all, you might be rich, but you'll never be wealthy. Rather, if you save and invest a significant portion of that, your money will start working for you, and you are on the path to true wealth. You have learned spending discipline. You live below your means. And now you have options. You have assets that can provide you income. You are no longer reliant on your job. If you don't like it, you can leave and do something else. Your money is now working for you. You're free to choose how you spend your time. That sounds nice, doesn't it? To get there, it matters less about how much money you make and more about how much money you spend versus how much money you save. So to us, this kind of wealth is what we should be aiming for, true wealth. And this is what it means. You enjoy what you do. You work because you want to, not because you have to. Your assets work for you, not you for them. You have time and resources to explore hobbies. You have time for family. You can retire when you want to. You are able to give back. The check marks on this slide are mileposts that achieve true wealth and are each of the things that I plan on talking about in the upcoming videos, a table of contents of sorts. Earn more than you spend on what you value, eliminate bad debt, create multiple streams of income, protect your assets, invest diligently, minimize taxes, provide for your family and their future, plan your retirement wisely, live a fulfilling retirement, control your own estate, and be charitable. Notice that nothing in the last 2 slides about true wealth talk about how much money that you had to make to achieve it. Although it's certainly easier to get there if you have a high income, that's not required to become wealthy. It's more about your spending and saving behaviors than the actual amount of money that you make. Achieving true wealth will require that you look introspectively and examine the types of behaviors that will get you there. Courage. One of the things that we learn in future courses is that investing requires balancing expected returns against acceptable risks. You have to take some risk with your money to expect it to grow. Those who are so risk averse that they want to park all their money under their mattress or in a savings account will not keep up with the cost of inflation. Self-honesty means you have to take a good look at your own behaviors and your mistakes. We all make them. And try to learn from them to make things better. Also, it's very important that you have an honest and open communication with your partner in a non-judgmental and non-threatening way to address any financial concerns and to be cohesive with your financial plans. Patience. Investing in asset growth is a long game. It's a marathon, not a sprint. Time in the market is more important than timing the market. It's almost always better to make an investment plan and just stick with it, although it may take many years to see the fruits. When they come, they grow exponentially. Commitment means sticking with the plan. Commit to investing regularly. Commit to your budget. Commit to your savings rate. Responsibility? Ultimately, your success comes down to you and how you manage your finances. Financial professionals can help you create a plan, but it's up to you to stick with it. Respect? I think this means that you develop a healthy respect for your money. You don't waste it on frivolous things. You worked hard to earn it. Use it wisely. Finally, generosity. I strongly believe that to be truly wealthy, you have to give back to others in some form or fashion. When you do so, it returns back to you in multiples. That may or may not be financially, but you will feel the return on your generosity in the quality of your life, how you view the world around you, and the happiness and the joy that you will experience. If you don't believe me, try it and see. Now, let's talk about some to-do items. Earlier, I recommended that you create a money mission statement that gives you an overall approach to your money, but now I want you to get more specific. To create a good financial plan, you need to know what you want and when you want it. A lot of people go through life without really ever verbalizing or writing down what they want for their future. If you write it down, you're far more likely to get it because you can then create the steps that you need to take to make it happen. It also helps you stay accountable and on track to your goals. Financial goals should be broken into timeframes. Why? Because how you save and invest for goals differs according to the timeframe. A short-term goal is anything less than 5 years and should be saved for primarily with cash or cash equivalents, like CDs, for example. That is because if you're in more risky investments like stocks or even bonds, there's reasonable chance that you could lose money on those investments in the short term when you need it. Midterm goals, within 5 to 10 years, can be partially invested, but best to keep it in a fairly conservative allocation mix with a good percentage in bonds, which are less volatile than stocks. Anything beyond 10 years, you'll achieve the best returns in a majority stock portfolio. The returns will have more volatility, ups and downs, but that should be less of a problem over a long time frame. This is a recap of the things that I recommend that you do with the discussions that we had today. You'll get more out of these lectures if you follow through with the assignments. Define and write down your overall money philosophy. Write down specific short-term, mid-term, and long-term financial goals. Save or display your goals somewhere that you can refer to frequently. Be as detailed as possible. It's okay to dream big here. This is where you can list your hopes and your dreams. And then make a plan. Many of them will probably come true if you take the right steps in that direction. Many of the behavioral and psychological concepts that I spoke about today and many others are described beautifully in a great book called The Psychology of Money by Morgan Housel. I highly recommend this book to you. I think he does a great job detailing the things that we should all be considering when thinking about our money. Thank you for joining us. That's the end of the video for today. I hope you learned something, and I hope that you take the time to do the homework. I think if you follow through on those assignments, it's really going to help you. I hope that you understand the difference between being rich and being wealthy, and that you really focus on that goal of true wealth. We'll see you next time.